Welcome to the Whitfield Analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live for this Thursday night special edition here on NGC 1. I want to thank you for listening to me so much tonight. You can contact the show anytime by emailing me, sam@thesamwhitfield.com. The voicemail number is 941-564-5805. And you can follow me on Twitter at samw_NGC, hashtag WA Radio Show. You can also like our Facebook page. Just type in, just go to facebook.com/WA Radio Show and give us a like over there. We just broke 101 likes today. I don't do much marketing on Facebook. I really should do some more. Twitter is mainly my eminent domain when I'm not blogging or podcasting. But with that being said, please support us over on Facebook as well, because we need your love over there. Alright, folks. I want to first of all say thank you for tuning in tonight. Thursday night is usually not our normal broadcast night. We usually do it on Fridays and Saturdays. We will have 2 episodes this weekend. One on Thursday and one on Friday, and one on Saturday, in addition to tonight's episode. I'm doing tonight's episode because I want to talk a little bit about New Hampshire, and quite honestly, there's a lot that I want to talk about tonight that I really don't feel like I would have the time to cover during tomorrow's episode. Tomorrow I'm going to be discussing the Super Bowl and some other fun stuff, or I should say funner stuff, if that's a word. We're going to be talking the Super Bowl tomorrow. We're also going to be talking about some social justice warrior BS that's been occurring lately. But I want to spend tonight mainly focusing on the New Hampshire primary. And what I want to start off with, folks, is I want to address something and make something immediately clear, ladies and gentlemen. I know that Marco Rubio did a bad job. I know that last night really wasn't his best night. And yet, I still support him. I still feel like he is the best for the job. I understand that he gaffed a couple of times, and he repeated it himself. Let me explain something to you, though, what that means, and what he was trying to do there. He said repeatedly that Obama knows exactly what he's doing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Republican Party has had a dangerous notion. Donald Trump basically thinks that Obama is an idiot, as far as I can tell, as do many of the other candidates on the campaign trail. As far as I can tell, Marco Rubio is the only one, and rightly so I might point out, to address the fact that Barack Obama isn't stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing. The issue with Marco Rubio, and the issue that a lot of people have with him, is that he repeated himself, and he's been harming himself by doing that. He admitted that it was a mistake, and yet he didn't do too well in New Hampshire. Trump took number 1, which made the Trump supporters obviously really happy, but it pissed off a lot of other conservatives including myself, who don't necessarily feel that Donald Trump is the most conservative guy in the race. Now, I want to dive through a couple of audio clips here. Marco Rubio, when I say he didn't do well, folks, even the Rubio supporters, like or not, you have to admit that he did a crappy job. And he let Chris Christie manhandled them. And Chris Christie, who is now out of the debate, by the way, he ultimately was, I think, Rubio's demise during that debate. He exposed several of Rubio's weak points during the debate, and just, I hate to admit it, but he trounced Rubio. I want to break down Rubio's interaction and why this was so catastrophic for him, but I also want to break down how he could come back from this, and I believe that he will. So this is Marco Rubio unfortunately falling apart during the debate. Cut number 1, go.
Senator Rubio, I want to stay on the issue of readiness to be president and experience. Governor Christie warning voters here in New Hampshire against voting for another first-term senator, as America did with Barack Obama. And Senator Santorum, who we all know dropped out of the race just this week and endorsed you, had a hard time when asked on national television listing your accomplishments as senator.
I will say, if politics becomes, and the presidency becomes about electing the people who have been in Congress or in the Senate the longest, we should all rally around Joe Biden. He's been around 1,000 years. And let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Barack Obama is undertaking a systematic effort to change this country, to make America more like the rest of the world.
The fact is, Marco, you shouldn't get...
All right, stop right there. What Marco Rubio just said, like or not, is completely accurate. And this is something that most Republicans and most conservatives I have found, they either don't want to admit this because they think Obama is stupid, or they think that this, for some reason, this is immaterial to the election. But Rubio is absolutely right when he says that Obama knows exactly what he's doing. Obama was all about fundamentally transforming America. You know, back in 2008, he said that he was going to fundamentally transform America. He knew exactly what he was doing, and so Rubio is absolutely right in talking about this, and he's one of the only candidates, as far as I can tell, who has gone after Rubio in this fashion. The problem is that he repeats this way too many times, and you will see Chris Christie point this out here in a little bit. Continuing on.
Compare yourself to Joe Biden, and you shouldn't say that that's what we're doing. You have not been involved in a consequential decision where you had to be held accountable. Fact is, when you talk about Hezbollah Sanctions Act that you list as one of your accomplishments and just did, you weren't even there to vote for it. That's not leadership, that's truancy.
I think the experience is not just what you did, but how it worked out. Under Chris Christie's governorship of New Jersey, they've been downgraded 9 times in their credit rating. We don't need to add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
So, unfortunately right there, folks, and you can hear this, the video I lifted this audio from plays those two clips back to back from each other. Now, you could argue, A, that this is a negative for Rubio, which a lot of people are. A lot of people do believe that this is harming Rubio in just a ton of ways. One could also argue, though, that Rubio is doing the prudent thing by repeating himself. I forget what the exact popular saying is, but it's something along the lines of, if you repeat something often enough, people are finally going to get what you're saying. I think that's what Rubio is trying to do here. I don't think he comes across as all that successful while doing it. I think that to be quite honest, I have to agree that this was not his best moment, ladies and gentlemen. I do think it harmed him in the long run, but I also want to point out that Rubio knows that this harmed him and said as much in his consolation speech after New Hampshire. He admitted that he was at fault. Donald Trump, on the other hand, when we saw him lose to Iowa to Ted Cruz, he immediately went on Twitter and said that the election was rigged against him and that he was the only one self-funding his campaign. Have you noticed that Trump always says that whenever things aren't going his way? Well, I'm the only one that's funding my own campaign. That's one of Trump's default go-tos now, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't think, to be honest, that it is very flattering of Trump to say this. And like I said, that is his default just by nature. Now, Rubio admits that New Hampshire was not his strong suit. And people are already discounting him as a presidential candidate. Even Matt Dallas, who I am very close to, says that it's over for Rubio. People have been saying that the fat lady is about to sing, and a lot of people have been giving me crap since this happened due to my endorsement of Rubio. Here's the one thing I will say. No one, not even myself, no one was expecting Rubio to do as well as he did in Iowa. And even though it looks like the fat lady may be getting ready to sing, I'm not so sure that Rubio's out yet. He may be down, but he's not out yet. Hopefully he's learned from this, and hopefully he will be able to pick himself back up. And I really don't like this attitude, folks, of Rubio's done for, the fat lady has sung, we should discount him. Folks, I realize that we do need to get a nominee, and that we do need to start focusing more on the general and Hillary Clinton. I completely agree with that. But to discount Rubio at this point, when he's still polling fairly well, I don't think we need to be worried about him getting out anytime soon. Like I said, he's down, but he's not out. Jeb Bush, on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, has been polling at below 3% for a while. He's going to be the one that the Republicans say, okay, Jeb, you have to get out because you're just doing terrible. He is still somehow hanging around this race. And Donald Trump the other evening at the debate made a fool out of him and absolutely turned him into a rag doll, specifically on the topic of eminent domain. See, Jeb Bush, one thing that people don't like about Trump is an asshole, which is true. Trump is an asshole. He's vulgar. But the one thing that he knows how to do is he knows how to throw his weight around. He knows how to act like a hammer when everything else is a nail, as Ben Shapiro says. And every once in a while, that means that he may unfortunately hit a puppy every once in a while. But Trump knows how to handle the media. And he knows how to make Jeb Bush, especially, look like a moron. So, I want to play this clip of Trump versus Bush from the debate because I think it's very telling why so many people are starting to shift over to the Trump campaign and why Bush really isn't going to go anywhere at this point. Cut number 2, go.
Back to you. Mary Catherine, thank you. We want to turn now to the issue of eminent domain, which is being debated right here in New Hampshire. And Josh McKelvin is the political director, the anchor of WMUR-TV. Josh?
Thank you, David, and good evening, candidates. Mr. Trump, you have said, quote, "I love eminent domain," which is the seizure of private property for the sake of the greater good, theoretically. You've tried to use the measure in business endeavors. You've said you'd support its use for the Keystone Pipeline project. Here in New Hampshire, a project, though, known as the Northern Pass, would bring hydroelectric power from Canada into the northeastern grid. Do you see eminent domain as an appropriate tool to get that project done?
Well, let me just tell you about eminent domain, because almost all of these people, actually Chris has it, but so many people have hit me with commercials and other things about eminent domain. Eminent domain is an absolute necessity for a country, for our country. Without it, you wouldn't have roads, you wouldn't have hospitals, you wouldn't have anything. You wouldn't have schools, you wouldn't have bridges. You need eminent domain. And a lot of the big conservatives that tell me how conservative they are, I think I'm more than they are, they tell me, oh, well, they all want the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline, without eminent domain, it wouldn't go 10 feet, okay? You need eminent domain. And eminent domain is a good thing, not a bad thing. And what a lot of people don't know, because they were all saying, oh, you're going to take their property. When eminent domain is used on somebody's property, that person gets a fortune. They get at least fair market value, and if they're smart, they'll get 2 or 3 times the value of their property. But without eminent domain, you don't have roads, highways, schools, bridges, or anything. So eminent domain, it's not that I love it, but eminent domain is absolutely, it's a necessity for a country, and certainly it's a necessity for our country.
So would that be yes on the Northern Pass project?
Josh, the difference between eminent domain for public purpose, as Donald said, roads and infrastructure, pipelines and all that, that's for public purpose. But what Donald Trump did was use eminent domain to try to take the property of an elderly woman on the Strip in Atlantic City. That is not public purpose. That is downright wrong. And here's the problem with that.
All right, okay.
The problem was it was to tear down. It was to
Jeb
tear
wants
down.
to be. He wants to be a tough guy. He wants to be a tough guy
It
tonight.
was to tear down
I didn't
the
take
house,
the property.
and the net result
didn't.
was you tried.
I didn't
and
take
you
the
lost
property.
In the court.
The woman ultimately didn't want to do that.
That is not true.
And
the
it was
simple
great that
fact
I
is,
didn't.
to turn this into a limousine parking lot for his casinos is not a public use. And in Florida, based on what we did, we made that impossible. It is part of our Constitution. That's the better approach. That is the conservative approach.
Mr. Trump, take 30 seconds.
Let me just, he wants to be a tough guy. A lot of times, you'll have, and it doesn't work very well with
How tough is it to take property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough is it?
A lot of times, that's all of his donors and special interests out there. So, that's what it is. And by the way, let me just tell you, we needed tickets. You can't get them. You know who has the tickets I'm talking about to the television audience? Donors, special interests, the people that are putting up the money. So it is. The RNC told us we have all donors in the audience, and the reason they're not loving me, the reason they're not loving me is I don't want their money. I'm going to do the right thing for the American public. I don't want their money. I don't need their money. And I'm the only one up here that can say that. Eminent domain, the Keystone Pipeline, do you consider that a private job?
I consider it a public use.
No, let me ask you, Jeb. Do you consider the Keystone Pipeline private? Is it public or private?
It's a public use.
Oh, really? A public use? No,
Yeah.
It's a private job.
It's a public use.
It's a private job.
Established by the courts, federal, state
You
courts.
wouldn't have the Keystone Pipeline that you want so badly without eminent domain.
All right, gentlemen,
You
I
wouldn't
agree.
have massive, excuse me, Judge, you wouldn't have massive factories without eminent domain.
Gentlemen, we do have to move forward. Dave, Martha, back to you.
Thank you. When we come back here tonight, jobs, ICE.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so like it or not, Trump basically wiped the floor with Jeb Bush and basically made him look clueless. Absolutely clueless and idiotic. Now, like Trump or not, he is a master media manipulation guy. He is the only one on the Republican campaign who knows how to incite the media. He knows how to get the attention of the media and how to really rally the media around him and get the press in front of him. And this is why he seems to be doing so well. The problem with Trump is that he has a vulgar personality. The man is highly immature. You know, it's funny because people during the debate, one of the biggest criticisms I've gotten from even some very close friends for supporting Marco Rubio, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that they say that he has no political experience whatsoever. And this isn't necessarily true. People are interested in what this isn't necessarily true. Marco Rubio does have political experience running in Congress and being a senator. He might not have that much legislation to his name, but let me ask you this. How much legislation does Donald Trump have to his name? Not very much. In fact, none, because he's never ran for political office. And that's what appeals to people. I get that there is an appeal factor with Donald Trump. But if we're going to criticize Marco Rubio for not having enough legislation with his name on it, why are people giving Donald Trump a free pass for not having any political experience? There seems to be a high double standard when it comes to the fact that Donald Trump doesn't have any conservative values up until 6 or 8 months ago when he decided to run. The man's flopped 5 times, and the man is also vulgar just in terms of personality as well. And granted, I am not a fan of Donald J. Trump at all. But I will also tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. When the chips come down, and this is really what I'm worried about. When the chips finally fall and it comes down to Hillary versus the Republican Party nominee, let's not kid ourselves. Bernie's really not going to go anywhere in the long run. Hillary probably is going to be the nominee. If Hillary does get the nominee and Trump is our nominee, I will back him 100%, because if we don't, Hillary Clinton will be in power. And I don't care how much you dislike Donald Trump, Hillary is the worst possible option for president. Donald Trump, although he may be a vulgar man and although he may have some attitude problems, Donald Trump is not responsible for the death of 4 Marines. Donald Trump did not cover up the rape committed by his spouse. First of all, Donald Trump's spouse hasn't even sexually assaulted anyone, so that's not in there to begin with. Donald Trump has not made $600 million speeches at Goldman Sachs and then criticized them for being the wealthy class. Donald Trump has not had state secrets on his private email server while being Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton has done all of those things I just mentioned and a lot worse. Hillary Clinton even defended a rapist back when she was an attorney, a convicted child rapist. She knew he was a rapist, but she badgered the rape victim as well. That's what she's done. Donald Trump may be disgusting, but Hillary Clinton is evil. And I would rather take a brute who is disliked as opposed to a woman who is the epitome of evil, in my opinion. And I expect each and every Republican to show up to the general election, no matter who you are, like I said, because if we don't, Hillary Clinton is going to win the election. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing a shorter broadcast tonight because this is a special edition, but I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to do the regular edition of the Whitfield Analysis. We will be talking the Super Bowl halftime show, which really wasn't all that great. Plus, we'll be talking some social justice issues, or more like social justice malarkey. And plus, we'll be taking your comments and a whole lot more during tomorrow's show. So with that in mind, folks, I want to thank you for listening to tonight's program. I'm Sam Whitfield from all of us at NGC1. Have a good night, God bless, and God save this great nation.